Thanks, Daniela. That's right. It is time for Catching Up with Carley, presented by Meijer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Billy Bean, former Tiger and current VP and Special Assistant to the Commissioner. How's it going, Billy?
I'm doing great, Carly. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Love it. Well, let's get started. And let's start with your position in the league. What kind of duties does the Vice President and Special Assistant to the Commissioner have?
Well, I kind of wear a lot of hats, to be perfectly honest. I was hired in 2014, early in 2014, as MLB's very first ambassador for inclusion, and we'll get into my backstory a little bit. But my job now, I was instrumental in offering my ideas on some really important initiatives and education ideas that were embraced, and I was moved up into a position where now I oversee a great team of people in our player program education. I do keep the commissioner abreast and posted on all things LGBTQ that are happening in the world, outside, social responsibility, conversations that are happening in every way. So like what's happening, the cultural conversations and protests that have been happening the last couple of weeks, those types of things I keep my eye very closely on, and I try to keep him as aware of the things outside of the baseball, structure as possible, because there is a huge responsibility that goes with our great sport. And I oversee and started a bullying prevention education program called Shred Hate. We partnered up with ESPN, a great program. We've been in front of almost 200,000 students in our MLB cities in only 3 years, a military employment program. So a lot of different things that really about broadening our awareness and that focus and center on fostering the most inclusive, respectful, and accepting workplace that we can in our clubhouses, in our front offices, and in our game day experience for our fans.
That's incredible. That's very important for a professional sports league to have. But how important is it to promote and ensure inclusivity across the entire league?
Well, I think when I started, there was maybe a percentage of people in sports that thought that that was like a novelty. The world has changed a lot, and 2014 was a very interesting year. If you look at corporate America and the shift, the better understanding about chief diversity officers all of a sudden started appearing in global international companies, because there was a better understanding about how important diversity and inclusion is, and being represented by voices and images and cultural backgrounds that are more diverse. You have an opportunity to put those assets together, leverage those, and create a better product.
I love you sharing your story, because this is something personal you may have dealt with. You spoke about earlier as a former baseball player, coming out as gay. How hard was that to be in that kind of community?
So in a century and a half, only 2 Major League Baseball players that ever played in the major leagues have ever publicly disclosed that they were gay. And so by anyone's estimation or math ability, those odds probably don't honestly represent or reflect how many people like me played their whole careers and never told anybody, because they were a baseball player first. And that's the way I thought of myself too. The hardest part about my career that I remember is that right when I was reaching the pinnacle of everything I'd worked for my whole life, emotionally, everything was unraveling off the field. And baseball is a very hard sport. And I never gave my teammates, I never gave baseball a chance to maybe support me by talking about it. I just felt that someone like me probably didn't belong in baseball. It was a really, really long, slow, arduous learning process because I chose to try to do that all by myself.
I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And someone else you shared your story with, you helped counsel David Dunson, who became the first minor league player signed to a MLB organization to come out as gay. So Seeing that, you have hope for continuous progression and self-acceptance?
Sure. I think in David's case, he was 100% A plus on the self-acceptance scale, which was different from me. And I really feel like that is the result of so many people in my community and allies like yourself that are supportive, and the messaging that goes out there. And David was really felt strongly that it was the best decision for him to do. At that time, I was like an uncle, big brother to him, where he would text me all the time. And, there is a pervasive feeling that every athlete, especially in baseball, in the minor leagues, where you're a professional, but you feel kind of far away from what you're seeing on TV, and it can get a little lonely, and it's tough because there's a lot of players, there's a lot of teams that you have to move through the ranks to make the major leagues, and your teammates become very important to you. But I think the one thing that he did not understand at the time was that he was so new into baseball that it was easy for the outside people in baseball looking at him as a gay person playing baseball instead of a baseball player that just happened to be gay. And that is a very tricky acceptance curve for people that don't know you.
So you touched on this a bit, but June being Pride Month, and with the Black Lives Matter movement happening, do you think more people are opening their eyes to prejudice that can surround sports and athletes? And do you think athletes are using their platform correctly to promote change?
I always started, like every one of my presentations, that we are the sport of Jackie Robinson. If Jackie Robinson hadn't broke the color barrier and helped us understand why education about racism is so important, that there would never be a conversation about LGBT. It wouldn't be a conversation about sexism. It's the core for these important conversations. And now all conversations about diversity, in my opinion, begin with understanding systemic racism, respecting women in the workplace, and then the opportunity to bring conversations about LGBT acceptance and better understanding about what that is and what it means. And this is part of my job. This is where I work when we talk about educating the players, to give them the tools and resources to make decisions that they understand. And then we could talk for 2 days about the effects of social media and everyone having a platform. It's like having a rocket or an airplane and not knowing how to fly it. It's like you just can't get in there and start, because you are representing something bigger than yourself. You're representing your family, you're representing where you come from, you're representing your team, your organization, you're representing your league, you're representing people that look like you, that look up to you. These are multi-tiered sort of revelations. Sometimes we have a great program called Ahead and Account that's a minor league education program. And the assumption that every kid knows what LGBTQ plus means, that would be selfish of me.
With that, what are some initiatives you are working on with the MLB, specifically for Pride Month this month?
So my intention, and with the great team of people that, we have what are called business resource groups, and we have an MLB Pride business resource group that focuses on these kinds of activations. And with all that in mind, I wanted to have an education-based narrative. We have an education partner called PFLAG, which was started almost 45 years ago. It's Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gays, the way it was named in 1973. But it's an ally-based family and friends of the LGBTQ plus community. They're a great education partner. They're bipartisan. It's not a political organization. And we have an amazing woman who is going to give us an LGBTQ history conversation, focusing on our LGBTQ plus heroes of color over the last 50 years. So we're going to highlight some brave pioneers and have a really candid conversation. And that happens, and of course, it's all virtual right now. And then I'm going to moderate a panel of 4 out executives at MLB that work for teams. I thought the title is Working Out at MLB, and I'm going to let them share their business journey, their life journey, and really the responsibility of being a role model amongst their colleagues, because it's so much better than it used to be. But there's still, as a very, very low number of people that are out in pro sports, in the workplace. And what I think my goal is to really highlight these individuals so that they can become influential in helping people that are a part of the community see baseball as a professional option. And this is, you know, what every athlete is. We're human beings, and there's a chance to find connections. I think I'm a really good uniter. I bring people together. I'm not trying to point fingers and expect the players to be experts in social issues. I want to be an educator and a teacher, and I want it to be interesting and meaningful. And for me to accomplish that, I need to do my homework. I need to be prepared, and I need to come in and be able to communicate in a way that they're receptive to.
Well, Billy, we all need to do our homework to be better people and to make the sports community more accepted. I can't thank you enough for joining me on Catching Up With Carley, presented by Meijer. And I pledge you to help make the sports community 100% inclusive.
Well,
and I hope we're able to cross paths soon.
I want to come back.
This is great.
Yeah, let's come back. I'll come back next year, and we'll talk about all the things that we did from this amazing moment in time and history, and all the work that we're doing forward, because we got to do the work. We can't just talk about it. So thank you very, very much. Go Tigers. I love the Tigers organization. They're my hometown. In my very first team. I'll never forget those days. It was such an honor and privilege to play in Detroit. And I think so fondly of them. And I wish everybody well. And I hope the Tigers have a great year. They just drafted an amazing baseball player and #1 pick a couple nights ago. So wish everyone well there. And Carley, anytime you can have me on your show if you want me to be. Okay?
Love it. Billy, thank you so much. Take care.
All right. You guys take care. Be well. Okay.
Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning in to Catching Up with Carley, presented by Meijer. Back to you.